Hey, what is going on? Yeah, boy, Scan, the deep dive boy, is back with, surprise, another deep dive. If you've been keeping up with MLB The Show Twitter as of late, a lot of things have been discussed in regards to pitching these last couple days. Make sure you follow my Twitter at Scan, by the way. And there have been discussion of pitching metas and broken pitching mechanics a lot over these last couple days, including me and other people in the community. The legend of McGunski, obviously you guys know McGunski, right? He put out a video today going through a game-breaking pitching meta, showing how he found like some meta to the pitch that is really effective and probably broken per se. And then the discussion went further on Twitter yesterday after he had put out a tweet saying he was putting out a video on this today, and there is discussion of some weird lag and weird buggy thing that causes some improper pinpoint pitching input in the game, which is probably the definition of something being broken. I know some of you are going to probably see the title and thumbnail of this video and think I'm just a clickbait YouTuber, blah blah blah. That's okay, because it's definitely worrying seeing a title with a completely broken mechanic in the thumbnail, but it's actually true. There are some things broken in the game that are just not working properly, and we're going to go through, break them down, see how true and viable the points that were made by the community are, and do our own testing here to prove the validity of this and see if you can actually do anything about this. Let's get into it. What is going on, everyone? I appreciate you all watching this video. In case you are brand new here, my name is Scan, and we do a lot of other informational deep dive stuff on MLB The Show. We went through hitting and pitching and all that stuff before. So if you're brand new and have not hit that sub button, make sure you do. We post a lot of MLB The Show content on the channel throughout the week, giving you good information and things to learn about the game. Also, I do stream on Twitch basically every day. It's not every day, but basically every day. So if you want to come hang out, swing by Twitch and watch me play the game or ask me any questions, make sure you swing by twitch.tv/scan. And also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Helps get the videos out there. And these videos in particular take a lot of time to put together. I've been writing up a whole thing all day, going through all my points. So if you guys enjoy it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It just helps with these videos. So let's break down the mechanics. Let's go through what exactly was being talked about here and go through what we can actually do about this. So there are going to be two parts to this, kind of like I alluded to before. First, we're going to kind of break down McGunski's video. It's a great video, by the way. I'm going to leave the link to it in the bio and in the comments so you can check it out yourself, as he did explain a lot is very well on his own. Then after that, we're going to check out this potential buggy thing that is some weird broken thing apparently, and see how valid that is and see what the cause and fix of it could be. They both require some reflecting and testing of. I had to do a little bit of research and stuff on my own to see how valid this stuff is. So we're just going to go through them one at a time. You'll see they have a great connection to each other as we go on here. So looking at Gunski's video here, he talks about a lot with this broken mechanic. The core of it, just to get it out of the way right away, you're basically abusing, we'll say, the limitations of your PCI. If you move your PCI around the zone, you know, you can't move it everywhere. You can't get every single inch of the zone with that center of your PCI. You're using that plus pinpoint pitching, and you're essentially trying to force your opponent to hit ground outs and ground balls, or not hit home runs because you can't elevate the ball, by aiming the pitch at a particular part of the zone. I actually faced this the other day. I played a game like this on Legend the other day where my opponent was pitching me all in the corners, and I don't think they were doing it with the intention of something being broken or just something being abused, but it was just how he was pitching, and it was very difficult for me to hit. I scored like 2 runs the entire game, and I was just probably the most frustrated at the plate I've ever been, to be honest with you. The first point where it talks about the limitation of the PCI. The PCI is slightly limited in what you can do. You can't move it everywhere. He explains it really well here.
So again, because we're hitting first, I get to show it right away. You see where this PCI stops? If you hit that low and away, low and in, black, there's nothing you can do. I cannot get to that corner. So what happens when this occurs? You hit a ground ball. If you're lucky, you may actually hit a line drive, but you will not, if it's located correctly, hit a home run.
So what he's saying here, as you can see in the video, you can only move your PCI to certain parts of the zone. You can't cover every single inch of the zone just because of the limitation of the PCI. I don't exactly know what the intent of it is. Like, I think it's like a balancing thing. But on the other hand, I think it's just them trying to emulate how real life players, you know, they can't reach everywhere. So he's trying to say that if you locate pitches directly on those corners, that you're going to induce ground balls or line drives not those fly balls that can be hit for homers regularly. Just because of that limitation of PCI, you hit that spot, you're always going to hit that lower half of it, and you're going to hit consistent ground balls, which it's very tough to string together hits and get a lot of runs that way. You're hitting less home runs, less extra base hits, and you're going to ground out a bit, even though you have guys with high contact. So that is what like the core of this method is that he is describing.
Here's a perfect example. I didn't even have to say it. So Josh Donaldson, can I get him to hit a ground ball into the shift? Oh yeah, baby. You can't do anything about it.
See, look at the PCI. We want to look at this PCI here. He puts the pitch right on the corner here. Perfect spot. And his PCI, he can't move it any further down. This is the best PCI he could put on that, basically. You know, when you're hitting in this game, you're trying to aim for the center of the PCI, you know? And when you try to do that on the corner right there, you can't get the PCI all the way down there, so you're always going to hit the bottom half of it and induce a grounder like that. And he talked about putting on the shift so you could kind of abuse this even more, throw at a certain part of the zone, and basically guarantee you hit a grounder into a part of the infield and minimize these hits.
But again, this man is just this sacrificial lamb, right? He's the one we're showing in.
Right here, you could see it kind of breaking.
Did that miss his spot?
So you can see with the PCI here, we'll say the way to counter it is not to aim directly at the corner, but intentionally aim towards the middle part of the plate so you get that PCI down lower, and then you could hit that more middle, potentially top part of that PCI with the ball, so you're going to elevate the ball that way, but you may not square it up regularly that way. As you see here, he hit a squared up line drive because he didn't aim right in the corner. He aimed it more down to the middle, right around here, allowing him to get the PCI lower so he could elevate it. And at the end of the day, yes, this works. But like on legend difficulty here, for example, I mean, everyone who plays on this difficulty is pretty solid at seeing a pitch, moving the centered PCI to that pitch to square it up. And when you physically can't do that and you're going to try to teach yourself to keep the PCI off the ball intentionally to hit a line drive, it's just not going to be easy. It just doesn't really make sense. You know, the goal of a PCI is to hit the center. When you can't do that and you're trying to not hit it on the center, hit a homer, doesn't really make sense, you know? Why is this an issue suddenly? Why is this mechanic a broken thing as of right now? It's always been this way for years. Nothing's really changed with that. Why is that an issue this year? I think a big thing is with pinpoint pitching. You get the most user input you can. You could hit basically exact spots as much as you can, a lot more than in years past. So in this game, you could consistently aim at a single spot and abuse this. And some people just keep on dotting pitches down in the corners. I assume he ran into it, and also he's doing it himself here. And he realized that if you just keep pitches there, there's no physical way you can square it up. And I know there's going to be at least one negative Nancy, one person in the comments who's like, oh, well, Scan, you shouldn't get your PCI down there. It's just real baseball. Literally yesterday in the MLB, Giancarlo Stanton hit this home run. 2-2. You see that pitch location? Down and in off the plate, and he still elevated it. So it happens in real life baseball. You could still hit home runs and square up balls on that down and in corner of the plate. You're just not going to automatically hit grounders every time. It's just not realistic. So like, yeah, in this scenario, it's kind of a broken mechanic that should not be working as well as it should. But just to further test, is this just a legend issue? Is this just an issue for us folk who are on 900 plus rating? Is this going to be an issue on Hall of Fame or All-Star? Why hasn't this been talked about before? And just to get some evidence, I have some screenshots here on each difficulty. So right here, this is legend difficulty. This is me take my PCI with DJ LeMahieu and just jamming it down in the corner. And you see, I can't get down here. I can't get the PCI right on the corner here. This is the closest I get to it. And as you see with the inner PCI, most of it is going to be in the zone above here, but you can't get it that low. And if I were to move it, say, from here to here, this wouldn't really solve much, except my center of the PCI would be further right, and I'd have less of a contact region on the actual ball if it's right on the black. You go down a difficulty, the Hall of Fame, where the PCIs are bigger. You see, this does get significantly bigger. I think the difficulty jump makes this more counterable. just to look at the two side by side. Just look at how much bigger that is. Yes, the PCI is bigger, and you could aim lower towards the middle part of the zone, but the size of PCI allows you to do that fix or counter to it and actually do it a lot more effectively just because of how big the PCIs are. And then on all-star difficulty, this is all-star, not an issue on here. I mean, yes, you still can't aim right in the corner, but you have so much PCI coverage. You get the ball hit right here, for example, you'll hit a very likely squared up grounder. And if you do start the PCI lower to the right here, you're going to hit nearly perfect area just because of how big the PCIs are. So I truly think this is only an issue on legend difficulty. Thus why, you see an issue with guys like McGunski, who's a top player. And like when I played on legend the other day, it can happen. And you see, this is what the all-star PCI looks like when you move it. So even on the black here, you're going to hit squared up line drive. You could probably get underneath that by doing this still. So on the lower difficulties, I wouldn't say it's entirely broken. So for most of you guys, I wouldn't entirely be worried about this. So I played a top player here on legend difficulty the other day. He's a top 10 player. I don't want to go out there and give names just for some reason people would go out there and get angry for some reason. And this entire game, he was tunneling this down and in corner, and I picked up on it. I knew he was going to be tunneling after like the first couple innings. He just kept on throwing there, and like many of these times I could start my PCI there. I try to make the adjustment, and I just can't hit the ball well. He absolutely owned me this game. And I don't think he was intentionally abusing this PCI mechanic, just not working. I think he was just dotting this corner because a lot of people start the PCIs high. A lot of people don't start the PCIs low, so it was throwing people off. But you could see, if you just tunnel these lower corners, it is so tough to hit because you want to try to sit on that pitch. But like you could throw it, that sinker out of zone. You could dot it right on the corner. See, look at that dot, man. It's so tough to hit. It's unlike the upper corners where, if you dot the upper corners, yes, I can't get my center of the PCI there. And I want to make it clear, I don't think he was abusing anything. I truly don't. He's just a very good player who just pitches this way. I joked around about it after the game, basically saying that, like, he owned me and it made me want to cry under my bed because of how bad it went. And after, like, looking at this and talking about this type of thing, I could see why it went so badly for me, because it's very difficult to get your PCI down there to hit the ball like that. And you aim right in the corner like that, yeah, good luck. So now we're going to kind of segue into the second part of this video. Clearly, we discussed the idea of dotting these corners, the lower corners especially. It's kind of broken because you can't get your PCI there, especially on legend difficulty. Not really an issue in my opinion on the lower difficulties. But you see, if you throw pitches consistently at this location, it's going to be very difficult to hit and get stuff going. Another thing that was discussed is this weird bug. When you try to aim a pitch on the corner, you don't need anything near perfect pinpoint input, and you could just throw a pitch right on the corner without any issue. There are a couple clips I want to look at of this before we get into what I researched. First of all, you guys know Twin Gaming. He replied to this thread that we had with the clip. As you see in this clip, he gets 100% accuracy on the top, but he doesn't even move the stick down. And you see, Bob Gibson just throws perfect dots here. I don't know exactly what causes it, but you could see like the pitch kind of lags. The pitch goes one way and then it goes right back another direction. And he throws a perfect dot. It's just something is not working properly here. Another example of this, Nate put this clip out. If you guys know Not Nate in the community, I'll leave their links to their Twitters and such in the bio and such as well, so you can keep up with these dudes because they're all great creators in their own. He put out a clip of this from someone else's stream. Just look at this input on pinpoint and look at where the pitch is located. The pitch kind of lags entirely, and the pitch just goes right on the corner.
I think I
see
the last second,
gets a little bit slightly off pinpoint there, and it's still a perfect dot. And then here, I think he completely messes it up. And then look at the pitch location.
Yep.
It like lags, goes right into the corner. He got smacked on that pitch, but you see he hit the spot. So people are concerned about this little bug thing that's going on, and we're unsure You know, like this could be abused because you throw the pitch right on the corner. You're going to freeze up on 2-strike counts a lot. It's going to be, you know, if you hit a perfect guaranteed spot, it's an issue, that's for sure. So first of all, I want to see if there is a guaranteed method to make it happen. It seems like sometimes with like intentionally bad input, you're just going to like perfectly dot it. I don't know what the method is. So I tested 2 different things to see if we could pick up on any trends. I did get this to happen. This happened to me. I was able to like dot on these corners perfectly without any good input. There was some reason it was happening, but I wanted to quantify exactly why. So the first thing that I tested was just intentionally messing up the pinpoint, but doing the first motion right and not doing the last motion at all, or intentionally messing up the last motion. So you have the first movement where you move the stick a certain direction, go up, and then the final movement is you go back down with it. And I'm going to completely not go down with that final movement, and we'll see how effective it is. So right here is an example of it getting to work for me. You see, I'm not going to do the input properly at all. And you see that little lag with the pitch. I could even play it in slow-mo. That something is broken. It's just like not working properly. And I completely dot that pitch. And you see there's like a slight lag in the pitch. I don't know what causes that slight lag, but the ball almost changes direction. And that's how you can tell this works, because like it's like the game wants to do one thing with the ball, but something else is happening, causing it to be a dot. The second method I tried was to try to hold the pitch indicator in the same spot for like a few seconds before I pitch the ball. And the theory is if you do that, you'll hit the spot basically no matter what. You can see here with Liam Hendricks, I unintentionally did this, I think. I did put bad input on the pitch because I was still testing the first thing. But you see, you can hold the pitch in the same spot sometimes and hit the perfect spot. Look at this curveball here. This is a curveball that you should have not perfect control with. Hits the spot perfectly right on the corner there. And as you see, like you can mess up the input and it's not going to work every time. Sometimes you do completely mislocate it. I'm going to try to backdoor curveball next pitch here, and you'll see that it's going to be a perfect dot. You hold the pitch there, try to aim it right in the corner, and then bang, dot. And no matter what the input was, it was a perfect pitch, and that's with a curveball with like minimal control. So here's an example of me just dotting up a circle change. Again, I should not have this great of control on this pitch. Yes, that's like a perfect input, but you could still see the lag. Like that pitch probably wasn't going to be a dot perfectly on the corner just because it was a circle change. He's got a bigger par. You can even see it with that cutter right after. There's a little bit of a lag in the middle of the pitch, and I'm pretty sure it's like the game changing where it's going to like that perfect spot right in the middle of the perfect area region. I will say that like in either method, there was definitely a good amount of failure. There's a good amount of times I tried it and it went nowhere near where I wanted to, and it just went out of nowhere to like pinpoint with bad input kind of should. But there were points where it just sporadically was a perfect dot for no reason, and I couldn't quantify an exact reason. And I don't think there is a single method, in my opinion, where you could completely every single time dot a pitch perfectly on the corner with bad input. I don't think you can do it. Like an every time thing. But I will say there was something happening causing you to perfectly dot a pitch with bad input, and it was a consistent thing that happened multiple points in each game. And I don't know if the bad input caused it. I don't know if it's where you start the pitch, but like you should not be able to aim a pitch perfectly on a spot no matter what your input is. Even with perfect pitching input, depending on the pitch, you shouldn't be able to hit the exact spot every single time, or at least a majority of the time. And it's definitely something broken, something not working. But overall, why? What could be causing this issue to happen? Because we can't find a consistent method or something that causes it. There's something else that could be causing this behind the scenes that, you know, we can't put an exact quantity on. And this is my theory. I'm not an expert on servers or just connection-based things, So I could be completely wrong on this, but based on me playing the game and how things feel and what I've looked at, this is my theory on how the gameplay connection in MLB The Show works. And we're going to use Photoshop here to visualize this. So based on my knowledge of how a server-based connection works, I could be entirely wrong on this. Basically, the server is like the medium point. It's the place that is hosting the proper information, and everyone is like picking up the same information off of the server of the game. And from my knowledge, it's a very accurate way at doing online gaming because the correct information gets sent to basically everyone. I could be wrong on this, but this is like what you see in like Battle Royale games, Call of Duty. In many games, you connect to a server, from my knowledge. And this is why you don't see as much of a disconnect with issues with servers, because a lot of people see the same thing at the end of the day. But I don't know. That's my theory. I think that's how it works. On the other hand, we have our peer-to-peer connection. This is what MLB The Show uses. So you're not connecting to a central point. You're getting information back and forth with your opponent. I think this is why when you play a game, you could play a game with like McDonald's Wi-Fi. Your opponent has terrible Wi-Fi and everything is just really laggy. It takes a while for pitch animations to go through. Everything just seems really just not right. So I think it's because of them using a peer-to-peer connection, from my knowledge. I could be wrong on this stuff, like I said before. If I'm wrong on how this server stuff works, definitely let me know in the comment section, because I want to make it clear I'm not an expert. This is just my theory and how I presume things work. So just to kind of visualize how this happens in game, when you're pitching the ball, you'll see this when you're pitching. You'll do your pinpoint motion. It's fluid, it's smooth. Your pitcher releases the ball, and there's a slight moment where it feels like the game is slower. There's like a little bit of a, let's say, a lag, where like the ball seems like it's going to the plate a little slower than when you're hitting. And I'm pretty sure that's because the game is taking your input and then sending it to your opponent. It's syncing your game with your opponents based on how long it takes for that information to send to them. So when you pitch the ball and they hit the ball, it's kind of a fluid thing. There isn't any crazy lag. It just happens naturally. So you have that happen because information is being sent back and forth. And then obviously when your opponent hits the ball, it's all a smooth thing. It doesn't come off the bat laggy or anything. And then when your opponent's hitting, obviously you just see the pitching motion and the ball coming out of their hand in one fluid motion. If it weren't this way, hitting would probably be laggy. Like, that wouldn't be good to hit. This is just making it so it's sending the information to your opponent's game, trying to execute the same thing that happened on your game, and it does it in one fluid thing, so there isn't any lag involved, and it makes hitting like an easier thing to do. And then once you do that, it sends the information back to you, and it's like a back and forth thing between you and your opponent. My theory of what is causing this in game is something is telling the game you're getting good input and sending it to your opponent. Your game is basically kind of saying, in my eyes, that you're going to throw a perfect pitch on that corner. It's being sent to your opponent. So your opponent's game has been told that, hey, this is going to be a perfect pitch on the corner based on their pinpoint input. And as that's happening, we're intentionally messing up the pinpoint input and doing something completely different on that final motion, or we're just completely messing up the pinpoint input altogether. In our game, the ball is actually going to be going as if we did mess up the pinpoint, and it's going to start going somewhere else. That's why the ball looks like it's going like to the left or to the right out of the hand. As that's happening in our game, our opponent is receiving a perfect pitch, and it's now sending that information back saying, hey, this is a perfect pitch right on the corner. And in our game, it shifts from, as the ball is coming into the zone, as a ball that's a mile out of the zone because of our bad pinpoint, to a perfect pitch like our opponent's game told us. It gets back online and then dots right on the corner. So I think there's just some misinformation being sent because of some input we're doing, and it's causing that pitch to be perfect, and that's why it lags like that mid-pitch. Maybe you notice it more with bad input because the ball is actually going to be going somewhere else with bad input, but it gets aimed right on the corner. So this is some information being lost in my eyes. Some miscommunication of the peer-to-peer connection is causing this. Like I said, if you know any more about servers, if you have a different theory, definitely let me know in the comments, because again, I'm not an expert by all means. This is just my theory, my understanding of it. And don't take this as fact, okay? It's just me taking a theory and, you know, offering my side to it of what I think could be causing it. Nothing is factual here by all means. This is just me going out and testing this. So overall, what's the final point of this? What is the final conclusion of this entire thing? Is there a game-breaking pitching mechanic in the game that you need to worry about, that you need to take advantage of? I'm really not sure. I think personally, if you play Legend difficulty, being able to aim those pitches on the corners is definitely something that is working in a way that it shouldn't. That in specific, it makes it very difficult to hit well, just because how small the PCIs are. You basically hit consistent ground balls, but you pair that strategy of aiming pitches right on the corner and tunneling on those lower corners with the chance of you getting the occasional not perfect input and other things that still allow you to hit those corners. This could definitely be broken. You know, if you just tunnel these corners and you don't throw anything else, you could probably pitch really, really effective without any issue, because you're not going to miss as many spots because this weird lag thing we talked about. And just in general, you're also going to induce a lot of weak contact because the limitations of the PCI. That PCI issue being fixed would be a big thing. I mean, this weird lag thing is definitely some weird broken thing, but I don't think it's a thing that will ever be abused or too OP. It's just some weird bug that causes you to dot pitch, but you probably shouldn't. And I personally think pinpoint pitching, if you put in bad input, it needs to be punished more. Just overall, I felt like I was throwing better with some really bad input than I probably should have. But overall, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this? Have you ever tried pitching like this if you happen to play on Legend? Have you noticed that if you just put completely bad input on pitches, you could still dot them? Let me know your thoughts. I always love to hold these conversations in the comment section and continue this, because at the end of the day, this is just theory and us taking a deep dive and researching, giving our input. We don't know if anything is true, but the more input we get from you guys, the more that we know, maybe they can come to a solution as we go on here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive. We'll do more of this as we go on here. This game has a lot to it. There's a lot of moving things in MLB The Show, and you can see things like this here and there just be a little out there because of all the moving pieces of an MLB The Show game. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you like if you did, and I will see you guys again on the next video. Deuces.